Never Eat Alone. Please welcome David Phillips.
Fellow Toastmasters, guests. About 8 years ago, I was living in New York. I took a phone call from somebody I didn't know, complete stranger. Within a week, I was having dinner with that stranger, and it was a man. That's not the point. The point is, I took a call from a gentleman by the name of Keith Ferrazzi. Did anybody know Keith? So Keith called me up out of the blue, and I was busy. Working as an executive in Lucent, didn't have time for anything, always on the move, always trying to do something, meetings and cars and planes and goodness knows what. And Keith called me up just as I was kind of going from one meeting to another, and he persuaded me in 30 seconds that I should meet with him. He referred to a friend or an acquaintance. He then told me it would be worth my while in a very subtle and persuasive sort of way, and I kind of said, okay, set it up, we'll meet for dinner. And so I did. And I've now known Keith for about 8 years. And he was coming to New York. He lives in LA and New York. He was coming, he has a book signing. He was just releasing a book, which is called Never Eat Alone. And his whole mission was to fill up every evening and every lunch and every day by talking to somebody, by networking. How many of you are here to network? Come on. It's not a disease. And in fact, my whole speech today is to persuade you all the power of networking and why you should do it. You see, the simple fact is that we are existing on a planet, somebody said was overpopulated, but nevertheless there's lots of people, and we cannot exist as individuals. We need to network. And in fact, for your professional success and your personal well-being, networking is essential. When I say networking, the pervasiveness of social networking, which is kind of interesting because the technology is essentially what you're networking over. I'm thinking of LinkedIn and Facebook and, God help us, Twitter. This is not what I'm talking about in terms of networking. What I'm talking about are authentic conversations with real people that have a goal and have some satisfaction in terms of giving and taking. That is the essence of a network. It's not about a guy that I know. I've got, 300 people as my friends in LinkedIn, and they collect names like stamps. It's a stamp collection. It's not a network. And then he has the audacity to send me his every movement. I'm getting on a plane, I'm getting off a plane, I had lunch. I do not care. That is not what we're talking about here. What we are talking about is the relationships that we all have and how it is that we can use them to our benefit and, frankly, to benefit others. One of the greatest networkers the world has ever seen is who? Bill Clinton. Everybody knows Bill Clinton here, I assume. Now, you may not like Bill Clinton, but I have it on good authority that if you ever met Bill Clinton, even his wildest opponents in politics would say that after you've met him, you like the man. You feel as though you've been engaged by somebody who really cares about you. That is networking. The techniques he employed were incredible. It was scientific. It is scientific. It still does it. But the science is always overshadowed by the sensitivity to people. What he would do in his early days, he wanted to run for office. He knew that he was going to run for office, and he decided that he was going to get votes one at a time, if that's what it took. He would get himself invited to some prestigious event, and he would work the room. You all know what working the room is. We all do it to some extent, but he would do it scientifically. And he would hang out with this group, have a discussion, and he would find out who you are. Then he'd move to that group, and after 3 or 4, he would go and lean against the wall and write it all down. And then he'd continue doing that. And in the evenings, he would take index cards and he would write down your name, not just your name, but your family and any interests and any little tidbits that he could pick up. And when he was meeting you again, he knew that there is nothing we like better than somebody knowing our name and knowing something about us. True? That is the ultimate accolade. And that is one of the powers of networking. So what is networking? How do you achieve it? Well, first of all, Bill Clinton had a goal. Bill Clinton was on a mission to become certainly the governor of Arkansas, and then maybe the president. Things kind of got out of hand, I suppose. But anyway, he had a goal. And a goal is a dream with deadlines, is the way he saw it. He had a dream, but he had deadlines. He has very specific deadlines, and so he worked those, and he engaged people who could further his cause. Some people have fear of networking. Some people have fear of standing up here and talking. It's the same thing. Get over it. When you have a plan, you can work your way through a plan, and that is one of the ways that you can actually overcome fear in those kinds of situations. If somebody doesn't call you back or is not really looking at you in the way that you would like them to and doing what they would like, if I'd said to Keith, thanks a lot, buddy, but you know what, I don't know you, put the phone down, he would have just gone and made another phone call to somebody else. But that evening, he would have had dinner with somebody and he would have extended his network. Be generous. Be very generous. There's nothing like somebody giving you something. It's not about giving and taking, and it's certainly not about counting them up. It is about being generous with your time, it's about being generous with your connections, it's about helping other people. When you do that, people tend to like you and tend to orient themselves to you. So one of these elements of certainly being out and about in networking, you have to also be very interesting. Small talk. We've all been in a room where somebody talks about, I don't know, their kids, their gardening, whatever it might be, and you think to yourself, you know, this is all very interesting, but I really have to make a move and try and escape. Nobody ever wanted to escape. Because he was interesting, he knew things that other people wanted to hear about. And if he didn't, he had a sense of humor enough to make something funny and to make it a very easy relationship. And so the point being that if you are going to get on in this world, you need to network. And you need to start right away. Not only do you need to start right away, but you probably need to read Keith's book, Never Eat Alone, because it's a really good book, and I'm only touching on some of the subject here. But the fact of the matter is, it will help you in your everyday life, it is fulfilling, and you will have much more in terms of the friends that you have. And one of the key elements of this is to ping people. To this day, I get, on my birthday, a little text from Keith that says, happy birthday to my favourite Welshman. He's a very nice guy, by the way. So that is something that you think, my gosh, I haven't seen him for a year, 2 years maybe. And then you get that little ping in there. And so finally, because now we're at the end of the speech, and I always run over, finally, you have to be sure that everybody understands who you are, what it is you're trying to do, and that you enroll them in your future and in their futures at the same time. So my tip to you is, never ever eat alone.